look for, now that I've been interviewing candidates for INSEAD, for 10 years for them across different geographies, what I look, and also INSEAD doesn't give you a very, hardcore, like they have to tick all these boxes kind of, it's a little flexible. It depends, because we're looking for people like ourselves, right? Um, so what I would say is, you want to be genuine about what your story is, and that's cliched, but it's also very true. You cannot put a lot of fluff. You will put some fluff, of course, we all know that, but you cannot put a lot of fluff and say, I'm going to just talk about how big I think. I'll give an example. The last candidate I interviewed was a football player for Portugal, and he was playing for one of the leagues, private leagues in Portugal. And at a certain point in time in his career, he was in the junior football league, and in his career he decided that he was not going to go further anymore, and then he focused on private equity. Now, we look for people who have had experience globally, right? Working with different countries, traveling to different countries, working in different location. He had not had that. Because he's focused. He's been very good at football, and then he's made a switch, and he's in private equity now, and he's doing not too bad, but okay. But what stood out for me was that though he thought that he didn't have global experience, right? He thought he didn't have global experience. What I see is there is an honest story where he's excelled at something, right? There is a person who knows what he wants. His dream was big. He knew that he grew up in a neighborhood which was not very great. He knew that using his private equity, he would help small and medium businesses stay in business and keep the jobs. And it's not something that he mentioned in his essay at all. This came out when I was interviewing him. And I can see a person who would make decisions that affect a larger population, right? Because he's got it ingrained in him because of things he has seen. And he's going to use the instrument of private equity to do that. So that's another thing. The third point was that he thought he didn't have, because he's not worked outside Portugal, he didn't know if he was going to meet the criteria that INSEAD wants, which is a global experience. But as I questioned him, I realized that he's worked with like the Japanese fund managers, he's worked with the UAE fund manager, he's worked with so many people, and he knows exactly how those people interact and behave. And this is what we're looking for, right? You may not have left your soil, but you have experience working with other people. So in short, if I would summarize, if you're trying to put up your portfolio, do something that is not, of course, you don't have to join the Premier League or whatever in football, but do something that normally people wouldn't do, right? Dream big, write your big goal that is achievable. It shouldn't be like, tomorrow I'm going to build a Reliance industry. That's not a, that's a dream big, but write something that's genuine, comes from your heart, and that is, achievable, that you can do, and you are able to connect the dots, right? That's why I said writing the essay takes more time, and you've got to be genuine about it. And language experience, INSEAD asks for 3 languages. So you've got your English, you may have your mother tongue Hindi or Tamil or Punjabi or whatever. You need a 3rd language as well, in which you will be able to write an exam. So for me, I grew up in Iran, so I speak Persian fluently. So I had Kannada, I had Hindi. So, I could choose multiple languages. So basically 2 or 3 languages, 2 at the minimum. For Indians, it's not a problem, because unless, of course, you never studied in writing in Hindi or writing in Kannada or writing in Tamil. So that could be a problem if you're one language person. So I would say, yeah, I hope it's given people enough points to think about, but please, I'm rattling off from the top of my brain, but it's not very structured at the moment. But if you have specific questions, please note them down. We can discuss them in the this year during the COVID. I was able to attend so many INSEAD sessions by a lot of experienced people that are run specifically for women. There's mentoring for a very, very small fee. You get mentors. So there is a lot of encouragement in a very varied and diverse section, or a diverse, how do I say, diverse ways to help women succeed. And does that mean that because I interview for INSEAD, I had this question for the admissions committee who decides finally who gets into INSEAD. So that there is no guidance for me to say that just because there is a woman candidate, you lower your expectations on how she's going to perform. Because I have, of course, many times rejected women candidates because I don't think they're fit for INSEAD, for example, right? I have never lowered my standards just based on gender. So I had this question for them because the number of the percentage of women at INSEAD was 33 when about 33. I don't remember the exact numbers, but around 33 when I joined 12 years back. And today it's about 34. So I was like, do you have, guidance on interviewing women candidates, or how does that translate? You have a lot of support after women get into INSEAD, but what about getting them into INSEAD, right? This is steering away from your question as to what does INSEAD do with women and how does it help? But I'm trying to say this to, I see a lot of women names. So you're not going to get a free pass just because you're a woman, okay? You have to be just as ambitious, just as driven, just as, have those achievements. So what you want, and I'm saying this from a personal experience, what I do see in some of the women that I interview is lack of confidence. They have achievements. I'll give you another example, and that was also this year. I interviewed a woman candidate. She is a lawyer working for one of the best firms here in Luxembourg. She has done excellent in her career, but her heart lies in sustainable fashion. She's been thinking about it since she was a child. Now, why did she get into law? Law is one of the sought after jobs here in Luxembourg. And so she's gotten it, she's making great money, but she's missing something in life, and that's sustainable fashion. And recently she helped the merger and acquisition of a very large brand. I wouldn't say very large brand, medium brand into a very large brand. So while she was working on it, she's like, gone through all of her emotions, saying that, no, this is where I need to go, because she was working on that case through her firm. And so she applied to INSEAD, and I was interviewing her. And because I've also done sustainable fashion, like I was able to ask questions. And for her, in her mind, she thought that she doesn't have any experience in sustainable fashion, so she wasn't sure if she's going to get through. But while I was asking her questions, she started as a teenager. So I was asking her, why do you want to go into sustainable fashion? Where was the trigger? And she remembers that as a child, not a child, I would say a teenager, she started working on the floor of one of these brands. Right. And every summer since, she's worked in one fashion brand on the other. And every time she's worked in different aspects of the fashion brands. And to the point now, she's handheld and worked on the merger of one of the good brands being taken in. And even somebody in fashion does not get that much of an inside view. Because you get a title, you're like a purchasing manager and you're just that, right? But because she's been working, because she's passionate about it, she's worked through the summer. But you see the lack of confidence where she's not aware or sure and there's a mismatch. So I would say, and this goes to everybody as well, don't underestimate yourself. Dive deep into yourself, figure out why you want to do what you want to do, connect the dots and see how you can build up that confidence. Different aspects of my experience with women and why women should not underestimate themselves. And I must add, this particular candidate didn't have a great GMAT score, but I gave her a admit card, because I know that just driven by her passion and her thinking big and her experience, she's going to sew it together well, and she will build a fashion brand tomorrow. I'm actually waiting for her to graduate so that I can be an advisor. I must say that every INSEAD interviewer is different. I will share the people who interviewed me. For example, one of the people who interviewed me was, both of them are in Bangalore. One of them was, I think, in the consulting industry. One of them was in the IT industry. The person in the IT industry who interviewed me, he went very deep into my story, and at that time I was reading this book by Anita Roddick called Business as Unusual. If you don't know Anita Roddick, she was the founder of Body Shop. I think everybody knows Body Shop, the brand, right? So she was the founder of that, and I was very inspired by her, and I was trying to understand, like I said before, I had started reading business books, and I was trying to understand how she built her company, how she built a brand, all of that. And I went to this interview, and when he got deep into the questioning, I told him, I spelled out everything, why I was doing and all of that, right? And he opened his bag and showed me the book, and he was reading Business as Unusual, right? I mean, how uncanny is that? So we had this deep conversation. So it was a very, very friendly conversation. It wasn't like an interview at all. Most interviews with INSEAD are not like interviews at all. We get deep, yeah. So the other interviewer, he was more coming from a job perspective, and he was telling me, he was more advising actually. He was more telling me what's going to work, what's not going to work. So it's very different. And even this girl, for example, I mentioned, who is aspiring to build a sustainable fashion brand, my interview would be very different than the interview she had previously. I was asking her how that interview went, and it was another consulting person who was telling her what to do and tips about consulting. And yeah, so the point I'm trying to make here is every INSEAD interview is going to be different, right? And what you want to focus on yourself, being genuine, true to your dream, true to your experience, and portraying it in the best way possible. Practice it, take out the points that don't make sense. And we are looking for people who can have fun and be serious and have serious fun. We're looking for that kind of combination. So who are very passionate, very driven, achievers, can do 18-hour days if necessary. We're not looking for somebody who is just very, let's say you have very high GMAT score and you have not done anything in life. All you've done is like being this. Sorry, that's not what INSEAD is looking for. You're looking for high achievers. You're looking for the whole package, basically. This answer with a few more examples as well, because it's not just about my experience that I want to speak about, because there's probably a very diverse audience here. People who, like in my class, in my batch, I had a person who was a monk. He had been a monk all his life. There was a lady from Serbia, I think she had been a pianist all her life, right? So, and the pianist and the monk, both of them went to McKinsey after INSEAD, right? So, that's like a huge shift. I was a person, I have no family background of business. I've never been in a business situation before INSEAD. And after INSEAD, all I've done is business. There are some people who came from McKinsey. McKinsey then pays their tuition, so they go back to McKinsey and they work. And some of them are still, after 12 years, they are at McKinsey, continuing to work, right? So there is different stories. Of course, having the INSEAD MBA opens doors for you in some situations, but after that, that's like just the 5-minute conversation. After that, you've got to perform, right? You've got to be the person that you have to be. So, and if you have a solid story for yourself, you know what to do after INSEAD, or you build up on that idea during INSEAD, you will pursue that because you've always been an overachiever. I'll tell you what my dean told us, our class, when on our welcome day. He said that you are here, you don't need the rest of the course. You've already achieved, and you can go out and do wonders in the world. So the reason he was saying that was because we were the January batch, and the recruitment season for the investment banks start around, I think, February time-ish, February, March. And a lot of them who wanted to get into finance were worried that they were not prepared enough. There weren't enough finance courses that would prepare them for those interviews. And he said, we'll prepare you for the interviews. The interviews have nothing to do with your capability. You're already capable. So so INSEAD opens doors, yes, but it also depends on how you pursue them. It's not like a magic bullet that you have a pill and you've got like a Superman suddenly or whatever. You've got to work hard at the same time. Like when I started my company right after INSEAD, I used to joke and tell people I was the chief operating officer of my company. And I remember my friend's mother, I flashed my card and I said, Auntie, look at my card. And she said, oh, COO, oh my God. Like and I was telling my friend, I'm the COO, but in the office, I also sweep the floor, because there's nobody else. I have no money. So that's that's how it is. It opens door, but be prepared for the grind, follow your dreams, make it happen. I mean, yeah. I don't know if that answers your question or it breaks some people's dreams. Yes, you can. McKinsey is the #1 consulting school, and the #1 place they hire from is INSEAD. So it could give you a great jump. Don't mistake me. It opens doors for wonderful opportunities. But also it depends what your dream is, how strong you pursue that, how passionate you are, what you do with it.